I'm 82 years old now, and if there's one thing I've learned in all these years, it's that some decisions can't be undone. And the biggest one I ever made, the one that changed everything, was moving into a nursing home. I thought I was making the right choice. My family said it would be better for me. They promised I'd have everything I needed, all the care, all the comfort. But what they didn't tell me, what nobody tells you, is what you lose when you walk through those doors. If you're watching this right now, maybe you're thinking about this decision too. Maybe for yourself, or maybe for someone you love. Maybe you've been told it's the safest option, the practical choice. But before you make that move, I need you to hear what I have to say. Because once you go in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. And the things you give up, they're things you can never get back. I'm going to share 6 things with you today, 6 regrets that I wish someone had told me before I made this decision. Some of them might surprise you, some might even make you uncomfortable, but I promise you, if you're considering a nursing home for yourself or a loved one, you need to hear this. Stay with me until the end, because this isn't just my story, it's a warning, a lesson, and maybe, just maybe, it'll help you make a better choice than I did. Let's start with the first regret, and it's the one that hit me the hardest: losing my independence. When I first walked into that nursing home, I remember looking around at the lobby. It was clean, well lit, nicely decorated. There were smiling staff members, comfortable chairs, even a piano in the corner. It looked nice, it felt safe, but what I didn't realize in that moment was that I was about to give up something I'd had my entire life: the ability to make my own choices. You see, before I moved in, I had my routines. I woke up when I wanted to wake up. I made my breakfast when I was hungry. I could sit in my favorite chair with a cup of coffee and a book for as long as I pleased. If I wanted to take a walk, I just put on my shoes and went. If I wanted to cook dinner at 8 at night, nobody stopped me. My life was mine. Every hour, every decision belonged to me. But inside that nursing home, everything changed. And it happened so slowly that I didn't even notice at first. Breakfast was at 7:30, not 7, not 8, 7:30, whether you were hungry or not. Lunch at noon, dinner at 5:30, and if you missed those times, well, you'd have to wait until the next scheduled meal. Want to take a walk outside? You'll need to ask permission. You'll need to wait until someone is available to go with you. Want to stay up late reading? Too bad. Lights out is at 9. I remember my first week there, waking up in a bed that wasn't mine. I sat up, stretched, and reached for the book I'd been reading. But when I looked around, it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, the little things I'd spent decades collecting, they were all gone. In their place were plain walls, a generic bed, and a schedule that wasn't mine. The hardest part wasn't the rules themselves. It was realizing that I had become someone who needed rules, someone who couldn't be trusted to manage their own day, someone who had to fit into a system designed for efficiency, not for living. And once you give up that independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop complaining about the food. You stop asking to go outside when you want. You learn to live on their terms. But in the process, you stop living on your own terms. If you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself this: are you prepared to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Now, let's talk about the second regret, and this one broke my heart more than anything else: feeling forgotten. When I moved into the nursing home, my family promised they'd visit all the time. My daughter said she'd come every week. My grandchildren said they'd stop by on weekends. And in the beginning, they did. My daughter came by regularly. My grandson would visit after school. For the first few weeks, I actually felt like I still had a connection to the world outside those walls. But then, slowly, things changed. My daughter started calling instead of visiting. Just checking in, she'd say. My grandchildren got busy with school, with friends, with their own lives. The visits became less frequent. Once a week turned into once every 2 weeks. then once a month, then sometimes not at all. Holidays were the worst. Everyone promised they'd come for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for my birthday, but plans change. People get busy. Life happens. And suddenly you're sitting alone in a common room, watching the door, hoping that today someone will remember you were here. I remember one evening sitting in my room holding my phone. I wanted to call my son. I wanted to hear his voice, to ask when he'd visit next. But I didn't call because I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to make him feel guilty. So I put the phone down and I just sat there, staring at the wall. And that's when it really hit me. This was my life now, waiting, hoping, wondering if anyone would remember I was here. It's not that my family stopped loving me. I know they didn't. But when you're not around every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need them as much. Out of sight, out of mind. That's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself this: are you prepared to give up the loneliness that comes with it? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of their daily life, it's easier than you think to become just a memory they visit when it's convenient. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. If you're finding this helpful, if these words are resonating with you, please leave a comment below. Just type the number 2. It lets me know you're here, and it helps this message reach more people who need to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Your support means everything. Now, let's keep going. The third regret is something I didn't expect at all: losing my sense of purpose.
When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing my address. I didn't realize I was also giving up my reason to wake up in the morning. At home, I had things to do. Small things, maybe, but they mattered. I watered my plants. I made my own breakfast. I folded my laundry. I tidied up my space. Those little rituals gave me structure. They gave me purpose. But in the nursing home, all of that disappeared. Meals were made for me. Cleaning was done by staff. My plants? I didn't have any anymore. At first, I thought it would be nice. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was terribly wrong. The days felt empty, long and stretched out with nothing to fill them. I wasn't resting. I was just existing. I saw it in the other residents too. People who had once been full of life, now sitting in chairs, staring at nothing, waiting for time to pass. There was a man named George, 84 years old. He'd been a carpenter his whole life. At home, he was always building something, fixing something, creating something with his hands. But here, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for him to do. I watched him slowly fade. His hands, once strong and skilled, now... When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing my address. I didn't realize I was also giving up my reason to wake up in the morning. At home, I had things to do. Small things, maybe, but they mattered. I watered my plants. I made my own breakfast. I folded my laundry. I tidied up my space. Those little rituals gave me structure. They gave me purpose. But in the nursing home, all of that disappeared. Meals were made for me. Cleaning was done by staff. My plants? I didn't have any anymore. At first, I thought it would be nice. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was terribly wrong. The days felt empty, long and stretched out with nothing to fill them. I wasn't resting. I was just existing. I saw it in the other residents too. People who had once been full of life, now sitting in chairs, staring at nothing, waiting for time to pass. There was a man named George, 84 years old. He'd been a carpenter his whole life. At home, he was always building something, fixing something, creating something with his hands. But here, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for him to do. I watched him slowly fade. His hands, once strong and skilled, now just sat idle in his lap. One day he looked at me and said, "I feel useless." and I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for, something to work toward, life starts to lose its meaning. Your mind slows down, your body follows, and before you know it, you're not living anymore. You're just waiting for the next meal, the next activity, the next day that feels exactly like the one before. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this: what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, finding purpose isn't automatic. It's something you have to fight for, and not everyone has the strength to fight. Now the fourth regret, and this one scared me the most. My health declined faster than I ever expected. Before I moved into the nursing home, I was doing okay for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could take care of myself. I could walk without help. I could cook my own meals. I had my routines that kept me moving. Grocery shopping, stretching in the mornings, even just walking around my house kept my legs strong. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me. If I needed something, I could press a button. I didn't have to stand in the kitchen to cook. I didn't have to walk to the store. Everything was convenient. But what I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much. My legs started feeling stiffer. Sitting became easier than standing. And before I knew it, getting up from a chair felt like a chore. The muscles I'd maintained for years were disappearing, and it happened faster than I ever thought possible. And I wasn't alone. I saw it happen to others. People who had once walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly using wheelchairs. People who had been independent now needed help with things they'd never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more we needed it. I remember my neighbor, Alice, 81 years old, lively and full of energy when she first arrived. She used to take daily walks around the facility, insisting she wouldn't slow down just because of her age. But after a few months, I noticed she wasn't walking as much. Then she started using a walker, then a wheelchair. One day she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly what it felt like. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. And in a nursing home, where everything is designed to make life easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. If I had known how quickly I would lose my strength, I would have fought harder to stay active, to push myself even when I didn't feel like it. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this: will you still have the motivation to keep moving when everything is set up to make life effortless? Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as easy as you think. If you're still here, still listening, I want to thank you. This isn't easy to talk about, and it's not easy to hear, but it's important. So please, leave a comment with the number 4 to let me know you're here. And if this video is helping you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Now, let's continue. The 5th regret is one that I never thought I'd have to face: the loss of privacy and dignity. At home, I had my own space. I could close my door, sit in silence, and just be alone when I wanted to. But in a nursing home, privacy is a luxury you don't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff coming in and out, scheduled room checks, shared spaces where you're rarely alone. Even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required someone's assistance. I know they were just doing their job, but it's not easy to accept help for things that you've done independently your entire life. I remember struggling with the idea that I had to ask for permission for things I used to do without thinking. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available. Need to use the restroom? Sometimes pressing the call button means waiting longer than you'd like. And then there were the roommates. Not everyone gets a private room. Sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be incredibly difficult. I was lucky. My roommate was kind, but I heard stories from others who weren't so fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, unclean, or had cognitive issues that made sleep nearly impossible. Dignity is a hard thing to lose.
and I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until I was already there. When people knock but don't wait for an answer before coming in, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your daily routine is dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes you. You start feeling less like yourself and more like just another name on a list. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this: are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. And now, the sixth and final regret, the one that made me realize just how permanent this decision really was. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think.
When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was temporary. I'd give it a try, see how things went, and if I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But what I didn't realize was how hard it would be to leave once I was in. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just move back. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty. Maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting the place out. When I brought up the idea of going back, they hesitated. "Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you." And the truth is, after months of not cooking, not cleaning, not even walking very far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had was slipping away, and that made the idea of going back home more difficult than I ever imagined. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely once their home was sold, where their savings were drained by the cost of care. That's the part nobody tells you. Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the life you once knew starts feeling like a distant memory. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this: are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, leaving might not be as simple as you think? Because the barriers to leaving, whether financial, physical, or emotional, can be harder to overcome than you expect. If you're still with me, thank you.